In this video, we are going to look at the 3 elements that can help you master the art of communication, the art of speech. That when you speak, you convince, you persuade, people understand and act upon your message. As usual, as you watch my content, it's like the health meal amidst a spree of fast foods. So I am going to request you, 1, to be patient. Number 2, I want you to get a pen and a paper and take notes. But if you can't, please save the video for future reference. Last month, in my previous public speaking short course intake, I used an analogy to explain communication, and I think everyone understood it, using one of the favorite delicacies of Uganda, a Rolex. Therefore today, I am also going to use a Rolex to explain the art of communication, and follow me closely. To those who do not know Rolex and you're not acquainted to Rolex, Rolex is not a watch. In Uganda, we have a delicacy that is made up of a chapati, fried eggs, and lastly, vegetables. Now, to the eaters of Rolex know that yes, a chapati is the foundation of a Rolex, but it's not what makes the taste of a Rolex. You, my friends, who are as good at eating Rolex like me, we know that what makes the taste of a Rolex are the onions, the tomatoes, the vegetables, the green pepper, the carrots that some people add. But so how does this relate to communication? There is a scholar called Dr. Albert Mehrabian who talked about what most people say is the 7-38-55 rule of communication. Mehrabian suggested that in communication, the foundation is verbal, which I usually call the verbal construction. This is about what you say, your message, your words, your vocabulary, all the knowledge that you have that you're going to share. If you are a holder of a PhD and you've come to share about your subject, all that you have to say is under this verbal element, which is about what you say. The speech that you wrote, the PowerPoint that you prepared, the presentation that you rehearsed only contributes 7% to communication. Just like a chapati, it is the foundation. Now here at this element, for you to get the 7%, I usually advise you to look at 3 things. 1, coherency. Does your message flow properly? Do you have the introduction, the body, the conclusion? And is it interconnected in a manner that makes sense? Number 2, comprehensiveness. Comprehensive. That haven't you left out something? Is everything that you need to include in the message in there? Is it complete? Is it understandable? Is it clear? And lastly, I want you to look at correctness. Fact check the things that you're going to tell us. These days, we have no excuse to tell people lies because we have the internet, we have friends, we have many sources with which we can use to fact check our information. Now, the second element, which in this case stands like the eggs in a Rolex, is what he called, for him, he says voice. I call it vocals. Now, vocal variations, they're about what we hear, what your audience hears. For those who grew up with real African mothers, if you dropped something and all of a sudden your mother says, "Nebida Bibi, no, come for others." Yes, she has said come for others. But with the tone that she communicates, you can tell that run as fast as you can away from where she is. You cannot come and tell us that I love you. No, it's different when someone says, I love you. Same words, different way of expressing. Remember, just like eggs in a Rolex, vocal variation is the second most foundational element of communication, and it contributes 38% to your communication. And there are 4 facets that I want you to pay attention to. I'm going to tell you how to do so. Number 1, tone. Tone is the way we communicate emotions through our voice. And that is why we usually say something like, he has a sad tone, he has an indifferent tone. We can tell the emotions behind. So if you use the wrong tone with the right message, you've miscommunicated. Number 2, pitch. Pitch is about how low and how high is your voice. That there are times when you just have to communicate and say the pitch matters, and there are times when you say it is indeed a very important facet in communication. When you vary your voice, when you vary your vocals, people easily follow you, but also they understand you better than when you just say it flat. Number 3 is pace. How fast and how slow you speak. When you need to emphasize a point, the pace goes low. When you are ending a paragraph, the pace goes low. But sometimes when you're just mentioning a number of things, if you're going to just tell us pitch, pace, and volume, you can run as fast as you can. But you need to know, you cannot have the same speed from the beginning of your presentation to the end of your presentation. And I thank you, ladies and gentlemen. No. High, low. Fast, slow. Happy, sad. And lastly is volume. How loud. It's not about audibility. The principle is here, you must be audible. But audibility doesn't mean that you should always be so loud, or just because they can hear that you should be so low when you're speaking. You must make sure that when you're speaking, there are times when you go high and there are times when you go low. And you sound at a different pace with a different pitch, but also at a very different speed or varying speeds. Now, the last element, which is less foundational, but when it comes to effective communication, it is the most important. Just like in a Rolex, the vectors, they're the most important elements in a Rolex. And so in communication, we do have what we call the visuals. And I usually say the visual effects. Remember, these two things are about how you say it. It's only verbal, which is about what you say. These two about how you say it. The first one is how you say it when it comes to your voice, what we hear. The second one is how you say it, what we see. So this is about what we see. You cannot come and tell us that you're sad with a smile. I am sad. Here's the thing. You can say, I am sad. People don't feel that you're sad. I am sad. So you can use the same words, same tone, I am sad. But if you say, I am sad, you've lost it. When you're expressing different things, make sure what you say is what we hear and is what we see. This is the reason as why Dr. Albert suggested that this contributes 55% to effective communication. It is what brings the aroma. It is what brings the taste to the Rolex, to the communication. And when it comes to this, I am only going to give you 3 facets that I want you to look at. Number 1, hand gestures. And these are the rules that I want you to take when it comes to hand gestures. Your hand gestures should never be below your waist, nor above your eyes, unless you must. So you should play around this area. Second thing, I want these hands to adopt this as your recollection center, that you communicate, speak, and at a certain point come back. There are a few other ways you can do this, but I don't recommend them, because the moment you attempt, for example, to intertwist your hands, you don't let go. So this, the V, is how your hands should start when you're going to start speaking. So whatever you're going to say, you say it and you come back. When you're going to say big, it goes and it comes back. Why? You look confident when your hands are collected. It is demure. Second, body posture. My friend, don't come to communicate to people when you're just like this. I want your body straight. And in addition, I want your legs. You can't see my legs, but to make a V, separate them a little bit but not so much, especially for the ladies. Don't over separate and make a V. Why? It's going to give your body firmness on the ground. Next week, we are going to look at the different steps we go through to overcome nerves when it comes to public speaking. So, body posture, straight, firm, look confident. And lastly, facial expressions. This is where we have a smile, eye contact, but you can show disgust, you can show indifference. So I need you to adopt using facial expressions. So the question is, how do I make sure that what I say is what is heard and is what is seen, especially for those that struggle with public speaking? There's a video I made. I'm going to tag it in this video, which was talking about the steps that you can take to practice public speaking using a phone. So check out that video and follow those steps. Remember, how can we tell that you have effectively communicated? Number one, when your message has been understood. Number two, when your message has been accepted. And lastly, when your message has been acted upon. You may explain to me the ideas National Unity Platform or the National Resistance Movement has for Uganda, and I will understand them. But if I have not accepted them and your purpose was to persuade me, you need to make sure that I understand the ideology, I accept the ideology, but most importantly, that when I accept, if you're convincing me to vote or to join any of the two parties, that you secure my action, that I get to do something in relation to what you taught me. I hope you remember that career growth has been 70% attributed to the ability to communicate. And for many roles that are in management and leadership, the most crucial aspect and skill you can ever master is communication. Because leadership is about three things: thinking, acting, and communicating. If you can think of good ideas, you can act upon them, but you cannot convince your teams, your stakeholders to join you in what you think is the right direction, then you can't lead. So from today, just take the leap and try out the things I tell you, practice using them, or join my class and we learn public speaking together. You could be already good, but we can tell you fix here and get better. Thank you very much. Remember to share if you found this video in any way valuable.